Hello, hello. Hi everyone, Mark Anthony Crash Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the two new Princess Nokia albums, Everything is Beautiful and Everything Sucks. It's now been a few years since New York rapper and singer Princess Nokia broke onto the scene with those baggy clothes, that lovably awkward smile, and seemingly multiple personalities on her record 1992, which there was an amazing deluxe version of afterwards. She came through on this project with so many different voices and styles, but still maintained a lot of distinct character and topical focus, whether she was rapping about being a tomboy, being a goth, her hair, New York, black magic, which makes Nokia a tough artist to box in, since she seems to have a different style and direction every time she pops up. I mean, just look at the changes she underwent in 1 year from 1992 to the emo rap stylings of A Girl Cried Red. And now her two new albums over here, which admittedly I did not see coming, seem to be a celebration of that. Princess Nokia's two sides, her duality, and I guess the personality types that Nokia is trying to get across here are made pretty obvious by the two different titles and visuals on these album covers. And even though each record here makes its own statement, there is quite a bit of thematic and artistic overlap too. Take Everything is Beautiful with its bright, cheery, fun, kidsy kind of cover, but there is something unsettling about the fake smile and the bloody nose on this image. And even though the front cover of Everything Sucks reads very much like nihilistic mall goth, that edge is taken off just a little bit by that stuffed bear. And thematically, both records drop quite a few references to youth, growing up, maturing. Still, I see a lot of purpose and intent behind separating both of these two records in just how differently each of them vibe. Take the opening track of Everything is Beautiful, Green Eggs and Ham. Slick grooves, sweet pianos, and a splash of gospel influence. Kinda sounds like a Chance the Rapper instrumental, and Nokia's vocal lines on the track kinda run the same play. The rhymes on the track are pretty basic and childish, but intentionally so, as they seem to reference a simpler time in her life. But I don't think there's much vocal presence on the track, and the song ducks out before 2 minutes is even up, so it's an interesting tone setter, but not a great song. This is somewhat of an issue with a lot of tracks across both of these projects, that they are a little scant, a little too brief. Granted, I think the more aggressive cuts on Everything Sucks work a bit better in this format, as they leave a stronger impression in a shorter amount of time, but being so brief leaves multiple tracks on Everything is Beautiful feeling sort of fleeting. As much as I like the concept of tracks like Happy Place as well as Soul Food y Adobo, lyrically I think both tracks are just scratching the surface in comparison with numerous songs off 1992 that were a lot more robust, topically. But Everything is Beautiful still features numerous highlights, like the very sentimental and weary Wash and Sets, which is some very dreamy, aspirational trap that's pretty relatable. A lot of the lyrics on this one dealing in hating growing up, hating the responsibilities that come with aging. Then we have the song Gemini, which is a very sweet piece of jazz rap and could effectively work as a MO for the entirety of these two projects, as Nokia is taking an astrological angle to explain her different sides, her two heads and one eye. Later into the track list, we have the song Sugar Honey Iced Tea, which is one of Nokia's best songs, period. Sugar Honey Iced Tea, them bitches don't like me. Lyrically, it doesn't so much play into the themes of the rest of the record, but it's still an impeccably catchy pop rap hit with a great hornback beat, great chorus, entertaining verses, swagger for days. Another highlight here features backing from the New York jazz collective Onyx Collective, also guest vocals from the New York alternative R&B duo Ocean. And there's some great chemistry on this track. It's got a dark psychedelic sound, while it doesn't really fit in aesthetically with much of what is on Everything is Beautiful, and maybe it actually could have landed on Everything Sucks. It's still a highlight. Meanwhile, Heart is a short, cute self-portrait of sorts where Nokia essentially tells us that she's different, which I get is kind of a cliche, but when Nokia says it, she means it. I just wish there was more to the song, though. I mean, Nokia is such a weird and complex character of what she's shown us so far in her music. Surely there's more to say on this song than this. And it would be something if this track were as short as it is, but it connected directly into or was reinforced by tracks that were around it, but that's the thing about this album, and Everything Sucks Too. Both records flow very much like compilations of loosely connected ideas. Unfortunately, we have a pretty underwhelming closer on Everything Is Beautiful Too. The delivery of the poetry on this one is somewhat rambly, and while I think Nokia's words on this track are very personal and powerful, they end up getting lost in this somewhat rickety instrumental that I think just should have been swapped out for something else. Now, online I've seen some back and forth over which of these two projects is the better one, and I might prefer Everything Sucks just a little bit more. There's a lot of banger beats on this one, harder hooks, slightly more topical focus, I think. The opening track, Harley Quinn, hits pretty hard for a whisper rap rager. Then Balenciaga, later on the record, is a pretty funny cut about being fashionable on a thrift store budget. Sure, some of the refrains to me read as having pretty basic lyrics when I first heard the single, but it's grown on me with repeated listens. But there are at least a few tracks here that are maybe trying to be too edgy, like Welcome to the Circus or Crazy House, which I'm pretty sure might sample Jonathan Davis going boom nap oh mama Emma. Either that or Nokia is repeating that vocal line or someone else's, and it's being laced into the beat at like a higher pitch. There are definitely songs here that sound pretty much like mall goth rap that might also have a lot of crossover appeal with Juggalos. And 14-year-old me is here for it. Meanwhile, I love the track Gross, which sounds like some old school horrorcore with its eerie synthesizers and murderous trap beat, but Nokia is spitting bars over it basically about how grimy she is, sleeping on the floor, cauldrons, locusts, stains on the teeth. On the teeth! Then we have the also very catchy No Strings Attached Boy Hungry anthem, I Like Him, which is laced with cold-blooded flows as well as these funny phone samples. And then in a total contrast with Everything Is Beautiful, the finisher here is really good. Pretty devastating emotionally, the song Just a Kid. Oddly enough, stylistically and tonally, the rapping and even the instrumental to an extent kind of reminds me of Linkin Park, which, given the look of the front cover, I think is a genius like era of music to tap into for this. The writing is really tough. It's pretty intense as Nokia tells her life story and her basically upbringing that brought her to this point. Even though these are separate projects with separate experiences, and I enjoyed both of them differently and for different reasons, I did like both of them together on the whole, and I do think that while it doesn't make sense to listen to one right after the other because they don't flow quite like that, they are sister projects. They are connected. They are meant to be enjoyed together in some sense. So I suppose I could score them separately and then average that out, as I felt a strong 6 to a light 7 on EIB, and then a strong 7 to a light 8 on ES. And together that's pretty much like a decent 7 or so. I thought together both these records for Nokia showcased a lot of creativity, great concept, said a lot about her as an artist and a person, but the one thing that weighed both albums down is that each of these records featured so many tracks that were a little short, a little too short, kind of unfinished, bowing out abruptly or not really diving that deeply into their topic of choice. Still very admirable and respectable of Nokia to try to drop something with this much scope to it and for it to turn out as good as it did. Transition, have you given both of these projects a listen? You should. And if you have, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Did you love them, hate them, why? What do you think I should review next? Over here next to my head is another video for you to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Princess Nokia, forever.